محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. Firstly, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you for the opportunity to come and present a few thoughts on this topic. Just to get an understanding of where we are in this area, in this subject matter. Can I just get a feel of how much you've done of child upbringing, of basically anything in this topic? If anybody can help out. I've heard that you've been having very long series of classes on child upbringing. Yeah? I don't know. Jay. You can't hear me? I was hoping the mic will help. Is that where the speaker is? Do you want to turn the speaker this way? Because it's going to have yeah. I'll try to speak louder, inshallah. So, just if anybody can help out in giving a background that you have in the subject of child upbringing, so I can make sure I don't repeat what you've already done before. Because the last time I think I had a session over here was 5 years ago. I'm pretty sure in 5 years you've done a lot.
When Aura started, we did lesson with Sheikh Medina,
Okay.
child upbringing,
Okay.
for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sheikh Shirazi,
Yes.
been doing child upbringing, also like child psychology.
Okay.
So I have done it.
Okay. And that's finished? That's over?
Like it's still going on. I did 4 years with Sheikh Shirazi also.
Okay. So you should be here, not me.
It's always good to hear from experts.
Who over here has done these classes with Sheikh Shirazi? Okay. Okay. Are the rest of you just being shy? Because that's not going to really work over here if that's how you're going to go about it. So the topic is on screen time. Firstly, what do we mean by screen time? It's important to understand the subject that we're going to be discussing. So,
It could be anything, TV, phone, tabs.
okay, anything, TV, phone, tabs, anything else? Social media, okay, so that'll be on the phone. Anything else? Sorry? Laptops, yeah. What else is screen time?
Games,
Mm-hmm. Games, yeah. Which games? Yeah, Nintendo. What else? Yes. What else? Smartwatches. Yes. What else? Madrasah TVs are also screen. Correct? Yeah. Sorry? Schools are providing tabs. Okay. So we have that. What else?
Even in most ways, projectors.
Yep. Okay.
it's anything that gives them eyes or something that they can hear or listen or do anything else apart from concentrating on what they're looking at.
Yeah. Made the meaning very broad because ideally we want to give alternatives that can do the same thing. So in and of itself, it's not a negative thing for them to be captivated. The problem is the screen itself. The fact that it's a screen is what we want to discuss. Okay? So,
Then they make classes which are like helpful
Yeah.
for maybe.
so they have these VR, virtual reality, that could also count as screen time. So,
Advertisement banners.
yes. Yep. Basically, if you think about it, we are surrounded by screens nearly everywhere we go. Screens are not just for entertainment purposes. We're using screens also for educational purposes. We're using screens for marketing purposes. We're using screen to facilitate, for example, seeing the scholar. So in Dar Islam, the Jamaat is so big that you have the Sheikh on the mimbar, and next to the mimbar you have a screen that's much bigger than the scholar, and probably the quality of that is better than the live. Okay. So even that is using a screen. Okay, so we're surrounded by screens. So in that sense, I think it's a valid topic to discuss. We're surrounded by screens everywhere. How should we deal with this? But then the second question comes is, why is it a worry? Why are we worried about it such that we want to come and discuss on how to manage screen time or how to reduce screen time? Why should we be reducing it? Isn't it a part of modern life? It's an advancement. Why should we be worried about it?
If the child continues using the screen, they will do many social working, like activities, physical activities. All the time they will be busy with the screen.
We can say the same thing for Lego, right? If they play too much Lego, they won't use social time.
Takes us away from the nature.
Takes us away from?
Nature. The
From-
family,
Okay.
communication,
Hmm.
the action.
But we communicate through Zoom. So we communicate through Zoom. So in fact, screen time can also be a means of communication.
We see their behavior change.
Okay, so they can play with it. And so they're learning to use their fingers, dexterity, hand dexterity. Yeah. So why are we worried about it? Yeah, it's true. But then robots move as well, and we move as well. Just because a robot can do something doesn't mean we shouldn't do it.
When my son uses the screen, I see changing his behavior. He stops as opposed to when he's doing other things.
Okay, and
It's negative. Become like frustrated. He's more jittery.
when my kids go for playtime and they spend a lot of time with their friends, they come back very cranky.
The difference between Lego and the screen is different because in Lego the child uses his brain to create, but in screen sometimes the child's brain is brainwashed by what he looks or is doing.
There is no filtration.
Can you explain that more?
If my child is playing with a Lego, he will create on his own mind, he's using his mind, his own mind and creating things which
So if you play games like SimCity and Total War and Age of Empires, you're constantly creating, thinking of strategies and different things like that. So it's possible to do that on the screen. Sorry?
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification.
They know it's with their fingers.
Comes with ice cream as well.
Patience outside the computer. Because everything's with click of finger. And outside in the real world, they think the life has to go like this as well. So we stop thinking how they're supposed to think. They want it at the edge.
I want you to add the dot. Yes, that's one reason. I don't have a counter for that. Asante. Instant gratification that you get from the screen is very hard to get anywhere else. In fact, this is one of the biggest problems that we have with screen time. Okay, and we'll come to that, inshallah. You had mentioned something?
Filtration.
In what sense?
It's like they will not think of the process, and whatever is feeling is just stuck in.
That can happen through live games as well. That can happen through drama. That can happen through puppet shows. So you can do that as well.
Unnecessary ads,
Unnecessary?
advertisements.
Unnecessary ads.
Which are not for the kids during the games or even watching, when the kids are watching their shows, the ads come for the adults.
It's a matter of paying a few dollars a month and you can delete that.
Still,
But everybody is not aware of that.
Okay. So, what else?
For our case, it's the lack of focus in their surroundings. So when they're on the tablets, they can't even hear the doorbell ring. Or if there's something to do, like the fire or whatever, they completely disconnect from their surroundings.
If a child is playing a game, like for example doing some, let's say playing with some Legos or a game that he's really engrossed in, that could be the case as well. Anything else?
Like these days children, they say, oh, we are bored. So, like, even socially, if we take them somewhere, they say, oh, we are bored. But they are in the games, they really love that. They want that.
Yeah, so buy them some toys, then same thing. If you take away the toys, they'll be on board. You take them to a dinner place at an auntie's, there's nothing to do there. They'll say I'm bored. Not because they don't have screen, because they really don't have anything to do.
Like I recently had an interaction with a little girl. She was making a card of invitation card for sleepover. So I said, okay, can you help me make an airbird for my cookies? So she's boring. I said that the name of the like, and she likes to cook. That's why I told her.
So it might be the task that she's not interested in. Yeah.
I tried to make the conversation. She was busy. She could not talk, and like.
It's normal. Kids are like that. Kids are like that. What else? A bit louder. Is there a way to increase the sound over there? It's the highest. Right, I'll try. What else? Sorry? Health problems? Eyes?
They don't get time to think. Everything is really on the screen.
Playing in a park can be quite dangerous. Playing in a park can be quite dangerous as well.
There's always safety there. And eating disorders.
Getting disorders? In what way?
Because the kids are happy with the screen. They just eat nothing but they are eating. Even the advertisements that they promote, the food they promote, it's unhealthy. Most of them. So this is another issue.
Okay.
they have limited their life with this surrounding, like game. When we move them from the screen, they say we don't have anything to do. What is it?
It's too exciting. It's hard to match how exciting the screen is.
Yeah.
It's real.
Okay.
They get it close.
So I think one of the biggest worries is unsupervised screen time. Let's say as a father, kids, because we don't know, we're in the kitchen cooking, maybe into the TV, we don't know what are they watching, what are they picking up, the influence of the screen time through different medias and language and areas. That has been an impact.
So we supervise them.
That's why it's important to supervise, obviously limited screen time, unlimited or unsupervised screen time to definitely help.
But the same applies to unsupervised time with friends, unsupervised time with cousins. You leave children on their own in a room, after a while you don't know what they're up to. They could get up to no good. So supervision is essential anyways. Okay, the reason I'm doing this is, firstly, it's important for us to understand what the problem is that we're dealing with. It's also important for us not to take things out of proportion. Okay? If we identify properly what the issue is, then we can deal with it. You see, when you give me an answer and I answer you back, it's not to say you're wrong. is to say that if this is really a problem, how come it's a problem for the screen and not for the other place? That means that's not the real problem. There's something underlying that. And we need to find the underlying problems. You see, if we go in without understanding something and we go and try and fix it, we may not be able to fix it because we're not dealing with the problem. Screen time is not just a problem. It also has benefits. And all the other things that I mentioned, they also have similar problems to screen time, but they also have benefits. Now what happens is, for everything else we look at the benefits, for screen time we just look at it as a problem. And so we don't deal with this side properly, and we don't deal with that side properly. So for example, just as an example, because that was the last answer given, we feel like our kids are playing with their friends, they can go and do what they want. We know they don't come from a bad environment, so let them do what they want. Children are not supposed to be left unsupervised. Children by nature are very inquisitive, very curious. They like to get to know more. And when they get bored, they start to experiment things. So you never leave a kid alone. It could be a physical hazard, like causing fire, right? It could go towards discovering sexual aspects of their bodies. Right? If you leave them on their own for a long time, and they're often on their own in a closed environment and stuff, it could lead to them. Don't get scared. Okay? Don't install cameras all around your house. But this is a potential risk. Now, because we don't understand the potential risk of these things, we let them free in them, and they might fall into the trap. When it comes to screen time, we don't realize the potential benefits of it, and because we're so scared of it that we don't deal with it properly. Okay? So this was just an exercise to get our minds running a little bit. I don't know if you guys do small projects or if you guys have homework, but I think it would be very interesting to do this as a small project. I'm not here after this, so if you don't do it, it's fine. I won't know about it. But just for yourself, do some research. Look into papers, research papers, medical papers, especially from reputed universities and reputed journals, on what are the impacts of screen time on children. There are physical impacts, there are emotional impacts. There's, for example, impacts on their learning, impact on their behavior, impact on their social interactions. It will be very interesting if small groups of people over here, of the sisters, take up one aspect of it. The impact of screen time on social behavior, the impact of screen time on learning, the impact of screen time on hormonal development. Very recently I was speaking to somebody into the neurosciences, into eye surgery, and he's also done some neuroscience. Naturally, when they do eye surgery, they also do neuroscience. And he was telling me about a research that shows that children under the age of 2 who learn how to use a screen, so for example a 1.5-year-old who can very nicely unlock your phone, find an app, click on it, 1.5-year-old, they can do such things. The experiments show that these kids have a very tough time understanding 3 dimensions. So they can nicely handle a phone, but they'll struggle taking a cube and put it in a cube shape, because they're used to 2D. Their brains are getting used to 2D and they're not understanding 3D very well. So they're having a tough time in that aspect of their learning, which was very interesting. Now, we don't know these things at home. I haven't done this in-depth research, but I know as a general that before 2, they're not touching the screen. This is a rule in my house, and that's how it's going to be, right? If we get to know why, it helps. So now I'm even more sensitive. So my daughter, I have now she's over 2, but before that, she would not be allowed to touch the phone, right? Now she can a little bit if she wants to, then we'll let her. So if you can do this, it will be very nice. If there is a place that you guys have a journal or something, or you publish a blog, a place to publish a blog, then it will be very nice to see your summaries of these researches. I think it's nice for you guys to produce these kind of things. They're within your scope, your capacity. If you have somebody supervising these and checking that the quality of the writing and the content is good, then this can be a really amazing thing to do.
I'm living far from my country. So they want to So
Yeah.
now I have a worry
Hmm.
that we there, because of this, be encouraged to be more in the phone and want to be.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that inshallah. Like I said, screen time is not shaitan himself. We don't want to run away from.
We can lead to him, like a child, to go into exploring the phone.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. This is where we talk about how to deal with it, inshallah. So first, we understood that it has potential damage. It has a lot of good as well for our learning. I'm really sorry, you have to keep moving. Tell me where I should move, and then I'll stick to that. You sure? We're living in modern day. We cannot avoid the screen. Everything is moving towards digitalization. Everything, right? I was very impressed to see that you come into the airport and you just have to scan your passport. I've never seen that in Tanzania, right? Everything is moving towards digitalization. Today we have a massive screen over here. We wouldn't have that 2-3 years ago, right? Or at least 5 years ago, this wasn't there, right? In our schools now, we're using tablets. Everything is moving towards that. Even learning, for example, now we're getting screens instead of notepads. For example, Remark or Kindle for books. Yes, they're trying to reduce the lighting and stuff to not damage the eyes and so on. It's looking at the physical aspect. But there's a lot of aspects of these gadgets that is compromising on other aspects of our learning. So we're moving in that direction. We can't avoid it, we can't run away from it. And it's important for our children to also learn how to use it. It's a skill in and of itself, it's a skill that they need to learn. If they don't learn it, they'll be backwards in terms of their progress in the material realm. So they need to learn these things. But because there is a danger as well, we need to learn how to help them to control themselves. Okay? You mentioned that screen time is very addictive, it's very difficult to separate yourself from it. Very true. It's true for other toys as well, but it's especially true for this because of its nature, its addictive nature, extremely addictive. And they do that on purpose, right? The usage of different colors, the usage of special techniques in videography, right? Making cuts, very fast-paced. You'll notice social media today, where is it? It's very fast-paced. There's cuts. They remove the ums, they remove the small gaps between the words, and it's all about the speed of it. Within a minute, you need to make a video. Otherwise, it doesn't go on YouTube Shorts. 1.5 minutes, otherwise it doesn't become a reel on Instagram. Right? It needs to be very fast. You need to be able to transfer that content, especially fast. And that's why, for example, I'm surprised to see now lectures are moving from, they used to be an hour before, right? Right? In my youth, it used to be about 40-45 minutes. Not that I'm old, but 40-45 minutes. Now I'm being told my lecture should be 20 minutes. And I said, sorry, how long? 20 minutes. Like, what do I say in 20 minutes? It's not a reel that I can edit my lectures on the spot, remove all the gaps and just give content. But this is how it is. People don't have an attention span more than that. Because of the techniques used on social media and in the media to make the person want things very fast, instant gratification, getting things quickly, you get bored very fast. It's the same for other toys as well, but it's not manipulated. In social media, this aspect of the human being is being manipulated. That's why it's a problem. They're doing it in a way that it gives you so fast that everything else becomes boring. And so finding an alternative is very difficult. So one of the keys that I want to mention right now, we'll discuss a few other things later, is that you cannot be supervising your children all the time for the rest of their lives. You need to train them so that they can be their own supervisors. The tarbiyah of a child is all about making them independent and self-sufficient. As parents, you cannot always be there. You are not supposed to be there. It's not supposed to be like that. And practically, you will not be able to do that. Like you said, you're in the kitchen. You can't be on top of your children all the time. You can't be watching them all the time. You're not going to install CCTV cameras all over your house. That's wrong. Like I said, you're not supposed to be doing that. And it's not possible practically either. So then what's the solution? How do you make your children independent? How do you make your children self-sufficient? This is where Islamic tarbiyah comes, and it's a lot about this. Islamic child upbringing is a lot about this, right? It's about raising your children in a way that they use their free will to do the right thing. So, if you've done child upbringing before, you might have heard of the three emotional needs of a child: the need for respect, the need for security, the need for love. Okay? These are three essential needs that any human being, in fact, has. The one that is related to this is the need for respect. A child needs to feel respected. Why? Because when he is respected, he has a sense of self-esteem, of self-respect, a sense of karama. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. A human being, whether he's this big or this big, whether he's 2 or he's 40, innately needs to be respected, to be shown respect, to be honored, to be dignified. Unfortunately, in our communities, children are not given respect because they're children. We push them aside, we shun them away, we ignore them, they come and speak to us, we don't give them the attention they need. All of these are ways of showing disrespect to a child. When a child is shown disrespect, he doesn't feel within himself that he is worth anything. And the ahadith say that man karumat alayhi nafsuh hanat alayhi shahwatuh. Man karumat alayhi nafsuh hanat alayhi dunya. Man karumat alayhi nafsuh hanat alayhi ma'siyatuh. Whoever has a sense of karama, of honor and self-esteem, he will move away from shahwa, from desires. He will move away from the dunya. He will himself move away from sins. A person who has a sense of self-worth will not go towards lowly things because he understands his own value. You don't need to be there to tell him, don't do this. He himself will be like, of course I don't want to do that. Because he has a sense of value. But a person, a child, a youth that doesn't see himself worth anything, he'll feel like, so what? It doesn't matter. What am I going to lose out anyways? He doesn't see the point in trying because he doesn't have any value for himself, for his life, for anything. He doesn't care about it. When you don't care about yourself, you wouldn't care about other things. It doesn't matter anymore. This is when you will have to fight your child. You will have to fight your youth. And he'll be like, doesn't matter. Ma baap ne na majaye. Doesn't matter. Community will look down on you. Doesn't matter. You won't get a career. Doesn't matter. I'd rather die. I'm just waiting for that. Why? Because he doesn't see any value in himself. He's not feeling good from within. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have given karama. It's within your fitrah that you are somebody created with value, and you need to be shown that value. You cannot stop your children from being exposed to the screen. What you can do is to give them so much self-esteem and self-respect that they understand that if the screen has a danger for me, I need to be careful. I need to control my time. I need to control how much I use it. I need to be careful. This is what you can do. There's two things. There's education, ta'aleem, and there is upbringing, tarbiyah. Ta'aleem is about educating them, telling them screen time is bad, these are the bad effects of it, this is how you use it better, this is how it can harm you, this is how it can help you. This is ta'aleem, this is education. You teach them, you tell them about it. But this is not enough for a person. Every youth you see over here that you might see them committing sins, it's not that they don't know. They know very well that they're not supposed to do some of these things. It's a matter of not having that willpower, that motivation to do it. What motivates you to do these things? What would motivate a youth to not fall into these kind of dangers for himself? When he's looking for something greater, when he's looking for something higher, when he's looking for God, for paradise, for these higher and greater things. When his mind is gone from these lowly things, from desires, from food, from girls, from boys, from these things. His focus is not there, his focus is on lofty things. Rather than saying, I want them to stop using the screen, say, I want them to focus on God. How do I get them to focus on God? This is what we need to focus on. These other things, they get sorted on themselves. They just require a bit of guidance, a bit of direction, and it gets sorted. And the way to get them to focus on God, one of the ways is to fulfill their emotional needs. Fulfill that need for respect. It's a need. I was doing a conference recently. I told them that this was a conference on tarbiyah. So I was saying that emotional needs are needs, just like your children need food. Would you deprive them of food? And there's a dad over there who said, yeah. Apparently he punishes his children not giving them food. I don't know. You would never deprive your children of food, of drink. If your child says, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, okay, we'll say, hi, jarak pachi. But you want to say, no, you're punished, you're not allowed to eat. By the way, if you do that, please don't do that. Okay? Essential needs are never to be compromised, whether they're physical needs or emotional needs. The essential needs of a child must never be compromised. You know what that means? That means Allah tells you, if you commit a sin, I'll take oxygen away from you. Like, whoa. That defeats the whole purpose. How am I going to change if you take away the thing that's keeping me alive? These essential needs are there for the youth, the child, to be able to grow and make those decisions. If you take it away from them, you're destroying them, you're breaking them. Do not deny your children food. Do not deny your children water. In the same way, do not deny your children respect. Do not deny your children love. This is what it means to love and respect unconditionally. If you do this, mommy will love you. Never. Love is unconditional. That means you don't even bring it up. It doesn't need to be brought up. They shouldn't feel threatened that if I do this, I won't be loved, I won't be respected. Even when you punish a child, when you discipline a child, it should be with respect. That's why a lot of punishment that happens in the madrasah, especially in the past, where you take a child in front and you tell them, these are wrong methods. Why? Because they are demeaning the child, they're removing the respect he has in front of his colleagues, in front of his peers. These are wrong methods to use. May Allah forgive those who use these methods. I guess it's out of ignorance, they don't know, that's why they used to do that. That's fine. But we should not be using these methods. Even when disciplining a child, respect has to be there. I won't go into the details of these. If you haven't done, then inshallah we can do this some other time. Sheikh Ali is here, he can do that with you as well, or other scholars can discuss this with you. So this is about getting them independent. You want to solve a problem, this is how you solve the problem. By fixing these things. All these other are secondary issues. If you try to tackle them directly without focusing on the primary issues, it's not really going to work too well. Focus on the primary issues, the secondary ones are going to fix themselves over time, inshallah. Okay, just a few issues that exist with screen time so that we know how to be careful about it. One is physical issues, like you mentioned. It's bad for your eyes, all the time in front of the screen, damages your eyes. This is not something unknown. When it comes to emotional learning, I've just got a few points. Like I said, if you do this research, it will be very useful. Like you said, real life becomes boring, their attention span reduces a lot. There's a lot of tantrum and restlessness, very different to what I said when they come from their friends and they come home and they're restless and they have tantrums. It's a very different type of tantrum. The cause is different, right? With screen time is very different. They struggle to focus and many other issues like this. Like I mentioned, the 3D, lack of 3D understanding and these kind of issues. But one very, very important thing when it comes to screen time is the exposure to content. Apart from the fact that it has an impact on our learning and the physical issues, it also gives us content. And that content for us is very important. As Muslims, we give a lot of importance to content. right? So one is, you mentioned, there's a lot of bad content. I will divide this bad content into two. One is bad sexual content. Okay, so exposure to a lot of sexuality is one thing. We always think that bad content means sexual content. That's not the case. Sexual content is bad, by the way, for children and for adults. Just because we're married doesn't mean we can start watching sexual things either. But the second type of bad content is wrong ideologies. Screen time exposes you even more to bad ideologies. It's amazing how much effort is put in the industry, in the cinema industry, to express different types of philosophies through movies and cartoons. And this is something that in the past used to be thought as conspiracies. I have yaqeen on this, having watched a few movies in the last few years. Have you watched Soul? S-O-U-L. Yeah? Anybody watch Soul? It's a cartoon. It's an animation, which normally we would let our children watch. Soul is an amazing, and credit to whoever's done it, it's an amazing depiction of Alam-e-Dhar, of Alam-e-Barzakh, of angels and souls in the form of a cartoon. Amazing depiction. It's fascinating how amazing their thinking, their creativity is. How they work together, artists together with philosophers and theologians and psychologists, to come up with a masterpiece. I'm calling it a masterpiece. I don't even think they know what they've done.
There's the same people as Inside Out, which is also a masterpiece.
Hassan, the next one is Inside Out. Inside Out freaked me out. I am not going to watch two. Yes, when I watched Inside Out 1, it affected me so much, and I watched it I think 2 years ago. It affected me so much that when I saw Inside Out 2 came, I said I won't watch this. It's extremely powerful. They are able to depict certain concepts in such a tangible, material way that it destroys your ability to think in an abstract and philosophical way. And this is a damage. Damage is not just sexual content. The fact that our children are exposed to content where they can make everything that is abstract into a physical, material image means that they can't think greater than this. They can't think beyond the material, physical world. And this is extremely dangerous. Okay? Obviously, they've depicted these in their own understanding of things. Watch Soul. I don't advise watching movies normally, just so that you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay? Just expose yourself to maybe the best of the worst, okay, or the least of the worst that your children are being exposed to. Just so you get an idea of how they are manipulating, they are able to manipulate certain truths through media, through cartoons and so on. It's a cartoon, it's not even a bad movie.
So Inside Out, usually I encourage people to watch it, but I'm trying to understand why it's not there. I still don't understand why because they talk about core memories, not doing shortcuts in life, images,
Yeah.
they have good concepts.
So,
Which part is the next?
always remember this, that there is never anything that is pure bad. Pure evil doesn't exist. For any evil to be transferred to you, there will have to be some good that will carry, and then you'll take the rest of the bad with you. So definitely there's a lot of learning in it. This soul that I'm talking about, there's a lot of good stuff in it. But the negatives is what I'm saying is extremely powerful. And that is the damaging part. And sometimes with alcohol is the same, right? فِيهِ نَفْعٌ, but the evil is worse. وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ, right? إِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ. And this is the problem. Like I said, screen time in and of itself, we can't just say it's bad, we have to move away. No, screen time has nafa, it has benefits. but it also has a lot of negatives. We need to identify the negatives and see how we can manage that. Okay. So Inside Out, inshallah, it's been a while, so I didn't write down my points, but basically it distorts a lot of good values whilst giving an understanding of how emotions work, anger and all that. It, in one way, firstly, one of the biggest thing it does, it takes away the idea of free will from a person. That your emotions are driving you more than you decide yourself. External influence is what drives you, not internal. These things are very important. For example, when he or she, was a she, when she comes back from the bus, what is it that brought her back? It wasn't her free will. She didn't decide, she didn't think, reflect. It's all about emotions, it's all about, these kind of things. Reflection, thinking, that kind of aspect is completely ruled out in all of this. I understand that you can look at the positives, but I'm talking about the negatives that also come with it. Okay. I'll give you another example that, so one of the things we've started doing recently in different camps that we do is animation analysis, right? For example, we went through Kung Fu Panda. Who's watched Kung Fu Panda over here? Yeah? Yes? Yeah, of course. Kung Fu Panda 1 is one of my favorite movies. Amazing. When you look at 2, 3, 4, it gets worse and worse. Sorry? Yeah. So in the first one, you'll see there's a lot of positive concepts that are being given. Okay? It's a cartoon, but I'm pretty sure there's people behind it that have brought all these concepts of inner peace and self-reflection and meditation and these kind of things. But when you look at the second, third, fourth, for example, the panda realizes that he has his father he's adopted, and his other father, his real father, he discovers him. Very innocent. But in reality, the movie goes on showing that he has two fathers. The panda has two fathers. They're not saying they have a homosexual relationship, not at all. But it keeps showing that he has two fathers. And if you analyze properly, you will see that one of the fathers, the panda father, has very feminine traits. And the duck father is the one that has more of these courageous masculine traits. The panda father is very, no, don't let him go, we need to be protective, no, keep him here. And the duck father is like, no, let him go, let him try the world. This is a very prominent thing in homosexual relationship, where one of the two men is more feminine, and he takes the feminine role in that relationship, because the fitrah of the human being is that the man and the woman come together. Now that they've gone against that and they're married to men, the fitrah is still the same. One of the two men is more feminine than the other. Now these are the concepts and ideas that are being transferred through animations, through cartoons, through movies. Okay? But in a very subtle way. For example, this Kung Fu Panda thing, most people don't even realize it. But it's very much making it natural and desensitizing the idea of having two fathers. They're not going to start promoting homosexuality. They're going to start paving the way towards that kind of relationship. Right? So, when we're talking about wrong exposure, it's not just sexual content, it's also wrong ideologies. We mentioned a few wrong ideologies. One of them is homosexuality. One of them is, for example, these kind of spiritual realities put into very material shapes. Another one that is very strong is feministic ideas. Very, very strong feministic ideas. You will notice, for example, in most children cartoon today, the ones with superheroes, there's always one or two girls. They're very dominating characters. Often they're given the prominent role. Not to say that women should not have a prominent role. But when it comes to superheroes and strength and going and fighting the evil guy and all these things, these are normally the role of the man. These are masculine traits. But the idea of feminism is to bring the woman to become same as the man. Right? Inshallah, you've done this discussion on the man and the woman, the value of man and the woman and so on in Islam. The idea of feminism is not about justice, it's not about equal value, it's about making them the same. And these are being portrayed in these kind of cartoons. The ideas of disrespecting parents, for example. You'll see a lot of movies, series, and cartoons where parents are disrespected. The very obvious example is The Simpsons. Anybody's watched The Simpsons? The yellow characters, Homer Simpson, yeah? If you notice the character of the father, Homer, he is absolutely useless guy. He is so immature, so useless, he is not capable of taking care of his own family. Who is taking care of the family? Who is the one who is managing and keeping the family strong? Marge, the wife. She is the one who is keeping the family together. Otherwise, Homer himself is an absolute, to say the least, I don't want to use the word, he's silly, okay? Absolutely useless. The children disrespect him because he's useless. The children are smarter than him, and he can't manage anything. And this is the whole theme of the cartoon, and it's got episodes after episodes. It's yellow men talking and walking around, right? Like, what can go wrong here? A lot can go wrong. Okay, so let's talk about solutions, okay? By the way, we're not just talking about, we have until 11:30, right? So we're not just talking about cartoons, we're talking about screen itself. But like we said, the screen brings about the content as well, okay? So content such as cartoons and these kind of things, you'll get it through the screen. When you're looking at billboard, again, you'll see a lot of bad things. Either you will see sexualized content, the use of, for example, women objectifying women to sell products, or you will see other ideas going on. Now, I don't know in Tanzania what kind of posters you have, but we've seen that other ideas are also being spread. So what's the solution? Any thoughts? Mm-hmm.
Screentime should start after, like, we should start introducing to them after the age of 2. But to be honest, what I do is that when I get really exhausted and fed up because of the eating tantrums and all that, so in slow bits, I have introduced, like, my child. I didn't want to, my tongue just gets too much. So I introduce him to slow bits of, like, YouTube. But what I do is that I download videos for him. So because I know that they're so quick, he'll press next to something or an advert will come, which is not appropriate for him. But okay, now to get it away with it, like, let's say just after the age of 2, then sorry, but how do you manage how much screen time to give to them? Because they're just too fast in exploring things and you don't want to limit them.
Yeah. So I understand it's difficult. Okay. Just for context, inshallah, I'm getting my. So I have experience in this. Okay. What I'm saying right now is not out of lack of experience. It's really I've experienced it. I know the challenges of having children, right? And alhamdulillah, I have been part of their lives. It's not like I'm the father who's out and no. I have been with my children and I have dealt with tantrums and so on. So when I say that it's possible, I've experienced that it's possible. It's difficult, but it's possible. Okay, and I'll give you a few tips to help with that. So firstly, downloading it solves one problem, which is the problem of adverts. But that's not the only problem. Like we said, there's a lot of problems when it comes to their physical things, so their eyes, but also their learning issues that's going to come up with that. Their ability to create concepts, their 3D understanding, the fact that they're going to get quick satisfaction, so they're going to be looking for that everywhere else, right? So before the age of 2, I would really say make it a no policy for yourself. Understand that it's so important that you will go out of your way to avoid it. That's why we need to be sensitized to the dangers of certain things, okay? It is so bad that we need to go out of our way to make it happen. And one of the most essential things that needs to happen is when it comes to our parenting, we need to be more active in our parenting. We need to be more on our feet, okay? And by the way, this is not directed to the question, this is what I was going to say, so don't feel targeted by this, yeah, please. This is what I was going to say anyways, okay? That our parenting needs to be more active, we need to be more on our feet. We need to stop parenting from the kitchen to the lounge. Don't do this, now stop it, do that, don't jump, no. We want our children to do something, Let's get on our feet and help them do it. Children under the age of 7, you've all done tarbiyat inshallah, or most of you. Children under the age of 7, you don't give them commands and instructions. You help them, you facilitate them to go towards where you want them to go. Or at least you tell them in a way that doesn't feel commanding, right? Should we do this? Let's do this. Come, can you help me do this? You don't say, clean up your toys. You say, let's clean up the toys and then we can, you see? You choose. This is called active parenting. Thinking about active parent. I'm making up that word here. Don't go searching on Google. On Google it means something else. Being active in your parenting means this, that you find creative ways, new ways, more efficient ways to get your children to do what you want them to do. You want them to eat, find a way. We can't, it's not going to work. The choo-choo train thing, choo-choo, come on, the train's coming, you make them eat. That's going to work 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Then it's boring. And that's the nature of children. So now we need to find different ways. How do we go about it? Sometimes one thing that really works for children, you see, children love, they're very creative. They love their creativity to be touched, right? So they love stories. One thing that works quite consistently for quite a long time is stories. So those days when our children really don't want to eat and they're picking a tantrum, or we made something we know from the start they're not going to like this, we change the setting, we move from the table, we go to the lounge on the carpet, we set up, we put a sufra, we sit down and say, hi, let's do a story. We open their favorite, we don't open the favorite, we say, choose your own story. They come with the story, maybe the one they've heard 1,000 times, very annoying. Well, we're parents, we chose that, right? So sit down, open the book, read the book, and as they're engrossed in the story, they'll be more willing to take the food. You see? We need to find ways. And sometimes they don't eat, let them go. They don't have to eat 3 times a day. Sorry? So Islamic content on the internet is a good solution for the content side. Because we don't have too much time, I want to focus on the screen time itself. You see, the problem with Islamic content on the internet is that you're still giving them screen time. And screen time needs to be limited. So under the age of 0, from 2 to about 5 or 7, we normally give them, we in our house, we give them 30 minutes to 40 minutes. Really pushing it because we need them to be doing something an hour, maximum. Like even an hour I start, I myself fidgety, like this is getting too much now, right? Whereas by the age of 6, 7, I've heard this, that people give 2 hours, 3 hours of screen time. That's shocking. It shouldn't be like that.
You give 1 hour straight or like 5 minutes to 5 minutes?
No, 1 hour straight. It's like their TV time. We say TV time, then we let them watch. Normally we stop at 30 minutes, 40 minutes, we stop over there. 1 hour is really when, for example, I have a project I need to finish, my wife is knocked out, so it's okay, like 20 minutes extra is okay. But this is really the limit.
Also, you said like no screen under 2, but let's say, for example, Adhan time, we choose the Adhan on the screen. I know it's bad because there's a lot of people.
Noise. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to see the screen.
That, like, it's harmful.
Yeah, they shouldn't be going. Listen, they're kids, yeah? So they'll see the phone, they'll go, they'll touch it and stuff, it's fine. You nicely distract them, you take it away. So tip number 2, do not keep devices available everywhere in your house. Parenting is about role modeling. You don't want your kids to use your phone, don't use your phone in front of them. Have a policy that we use our phones at certain times, right? And this is where you have to speak to your husband. It's good to speak to your husband sometimes, right? Have conversations. Speak to your husband, have a policy. In the house, the phones are not used. The phones are not kept down, they're kept at a height so the kids can't access it. They're not all the time turning on with messages, right? Put it on silence. You don't want them to watch TV, you don't watch TV at home. Change your setup at home. I'm asking for impossible things, right? How important is parenting for you? This is the question. So I'll give you an example in my house. So one of the things, the ideas we've had is that the TV normally in a traditional house is the center of the sitting room. It's the TV's in the middle, all the sofas are around it. What we did was, we put a TV on the side. So it's so annoying that even when I want to watch TV, I'm like, where do I sit? It's not a comfortable place. It's just on a wall on the side. So when the kids want to watch, we pull out the chairs and they sit there and they watch it. And it's quite at a height as well. So it's not the center of the sitting room. It's not the wow of the sitting room. It's on the side. It's one of the walls on the side. right? When you come in the house, you'll see there's a dining table, there's a TV over there, there's a sofa over here, there's a carpet, right? The TV is not the center of the house. So even if their parents want to watch, there's a bit of coming out of the way to watch TV, right? And we don't watch too much, maybe because of that, right? It's not like a centerpiece. You don't want your children to watch all the time. Don't make it a central thing in the house. Don't make it so important. You don't have the TV on all the time. You don't be watching the TV all the time. Spend time playing with your kids. Spend time reading a book. They will also learn to play with their toys, to read books. And sometimes they watch TV, just like sometimes you watch TV. You see? But if you ask your children, don't watch TV, when you are watching TV, in their minds that doesn't make any sense. It leads to contradictions. And your respect goes down. When you say something, they'll tell you sometimes. Tame to korocho. Right? Okay. One last thing and then we finish. So we need to find alternatives, right? For young kids, alternatives is really physical play. They love to play physical things. They love to run around, they love to jump around. They like to play with toys. So there's things like magnetiles, really amazing. If you don't have magnetiles, you can, it's a little bit expensive, but it's really amazing. It increases their creativity. It's basically magnet tiles, right? And you get like hundreds of them in a box. And they can do a lot. So these are open-ended play games basically, where there is not a specific way to do it. You can do whatever you want with it, right? So having like small, people toys and cars and these kind of things increase their creativity. Even doll houses, but again, not things like Barbie. Try to avoid these kind of popular, I don't know what to call them, things like Barbie, Batman, Spider-Man. Obviously kids will want them now and again, it's fine, but to really try to avoid these things because they come with a lot of messages, right? Barbie is something that is coming more than the toy itself. It's actually a brand for an ideology, okay? So dollhouse is fine, they can play with the dolls, put stuff in and out, get them to play. If you play with them, they'll enjoy it. Your kids want to spend time with you. You spend time with them, you play with them, you satisfy that need, then you can leave them, go do your cooking, they'll continue playing, right? So these are ways to try and get them away from the screen. Take them out in the streets more often. They don't need you to give them expensive toys and stuff like that. Sometimes just let them explore, let them play, let them run around, let them get dirty. If you let them do this, they won't think of the screen too much. But if they don't have all of that, they're stuck in the house, there's nothing to do, the parents are all the time busy, and the screens are available, they will want that screen time, and that's how they will fulfill that need that they have to distract, to explore, and so on. Okay? Inshallah, if we try to act on these few things, I'm not saying it's going to solve all your problems, but inshallah it will take you a big step towards fixing a lot of problems that we have in the tarbiyat of our children, inshallah. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi at-tahirin.